It's time for a cup of coffee with Will and Chris at Slumberland Furniture. From Slumberland Furniture in Osage Beach, here are your hosts, William Holtz and Chris Schneider.
Hey, it's that time for your weekly cup of coffee from right here at Slumberland at the Lake. I'm Wild Will, and as you can see, that's not Uncle Chris, it's Nathan Bechtold from Lake Expo. Nathan, thanks for being with us today.
Thanks, buddy. Good to be here.
Yeah, we got some great headlines. So a couple of things. Commission's not in agreement over LPR situation.
Wait, hold on. The commission is not agreeing on something?
Yeah.
This has never happened.
Camden County Commission not in agreement over LPRs. Also, something you're going to kind of break down and walk us through is the Outlet Mall, $650 million TIF, Johnny Morris, Bass Pro Shops. What does it all mean? Well, Nathan, you guys did a great feature on that. So you're going to break that down for us. We're going to talk Vernetti's bill, protecting small businesses from predatory websites that come after their websites. And so we're going to talk about that. We're going to pay tribute to the Dorris family, Jim Dorris, as PlayCraft Boats has sold. We're going to congratulate Carolyn Dorris. And something kind of cool as we wrap up the Super Bowl, we're also going to talk about cold-stunned iguanas in Florida. And you actually were in Florida petting these guys, right?
I didn't see one, but I was there, so yeah.
Okay, we got some local events as well. Nathan and I will have all that and a whole lot more on this week's Cup of Coffee.
Hey everybody, it's Daryl Cunningham with Slumberland Furniture at the Lake. We're in the middle of our President's Sale, and it's doorbuster time. We've got buy a sofa, get a recliner for free. We've got buy a sectional for $9.99, get the free ottoman. And we've got Lazy Boys for $2.99. And that's just a snippet. You need to come check it all out at Slumberland Furniture, where we're bringing happy home.
A cup of coffee as we wake up in the car or right here on Lake TV with Will and Chris. Kind of like driving, we do it every single day.
But we shouldn't do it while distracted. Did you know that drivers who text are 23 times more likely to be in a crash? So keep your eyes on the road and always remember to buckle up and put your phones down.
This Drive Safe, Boat Safe message brought to you by Price and Randall Injury Attorneys.
Now back to your cup of coffee with Will and Chris.
All right, so as we get started, I hope that Uncle Chris is enjoying the sunshine down there in Florida.
He's in Florida. Is the sun actually shining right now? I hadn't checked the weather.
I don't know.
When I left Florida is when the cold was hitting, and it was actually cold. People were losing their minds. When it gets below 50 degrees, like the resort we were at, they closed the playground for weather. Like it was not snowing, it was not even raining. It was just, like in the 40s. And closed for weather.
Traditionally this time of year, it's 70s, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been in Florida when it's not super warm in January and February. So, Uncle Chris, I hope you're enjoying whatever weather, whatever weather's down there in Florida. But all right, our first headline kind of snuck up on us, but last Thursday at the Camden County Commission meeting, the issue of license plate readers and enforcement of an ordinance banning the use of all automated plate readers was on their agenda, and what originally appeared to be an aligned commission on this subject, if you remember recently, may no longer be the situation in Camden County. According to KY3, Presiding Commissioner Ike Skelton asked the county attorney to pursue civil litigation to enforce the ordinance that banned license plate reading cameras. However, Commissioner Gohagan and Commissioner Dugan did not support this action. Does that surprise you?
Yeah, kind of, sort of. I think it's sort of, I wonder if they're not just doing a cost-benefit analysis like, hey, we have a lot of issues. Should we invest more time focusing on this? Because the whole license plate reader thing has been this long arc in the county. It literally got Commissioner Skelton in legal hot water. He got out of that mostly unscathed, I would say, but it was a big thing for the county. I did think there was a little more unanimity among them on hey, this ordinance says we can't have, that we don't allow license plate readers, so we're going to enforce the ordinance. So that is a problem. Is the county going to enforce its ordinances or not? I know that, I think it was the Highway Patrol said, yeah, that ordinance doesn't apply to the highways that we have authority over, so there's sort of who decide, who's going to kind of pull rank on that.
Yeah, and so this was an attempt from Presiding Commissioner Skelton to say, hey, we want to take legal grounds and enforce this. And so the other two commissioners didn't align with that. And according to KY3, Skelton wanted to prevent the Missouri State Highway Patrol, as you alluded to, from installing cameras on any state roads within Camden County. The county already has the ordinance banning these types of devices, and you'll remember.
That was why he took the one down.
Right,
He was like, hey, we have an ordinance, this is not allowed to be here, and he took it down. He eventually was like, yes, I took it down. So, yeah.
And that was a felony case that was eventually pled down.
Right.
Last fall, Skelton paid a $500 fine, and that was essentially a huge victory for Skelton at the time. And he claims that the Highway Patrol lacks the authority to install cameras on the highways. He says there's no authority there for them to put anything on the highway. There's authority for MoDOT to put something on the highway as far as like their traffic cameras, traffic control cameras, but neither of those are surveillance programs. And I don't think the Department of Public Safety has any authority to put something on the highway, Skelton said. So he was very bold and consistent in that. And I reached out to Skelton, and he said, yeah, they didn't support, the other commissioners. They didn't support. He said, I knew Commissioner Dugan most likely wouldn't, but he anticipated that Commissioner Gohagan would be on the same page with them. I said, so what would be the consequences of this, right? You guys not filing this. He goes, well, we have an ordinance that isn't being enforced and no one wants to do anything about it. Essentially, then the cameras are going to get to stay. He goes, so reached out to Commissioner Gohagan, and he said, look, man, the budget was just posted. He goes, we got so much going on right now. He goes, I just didn't know if it was the right battle, and so hopefully this doesn't create a divide within the commission, but these kind of things come up. And you'll remember LPRs and Flock and Camden County and the commission, that was a year long, like story and battle and, ongoing litigation.
Hot topic. Yep.
And so now it looked like it was going to go further, and the commission says, no, we're going to stop it right here.
Yeah.
So interesting. Right. We'll keep you posted on that. The other huge headline that I saw over the last week was the outlet mall. There's been so much talk, right, about the Osage Beach Outlet Mall, once a booming destination for visitors and shoppers with over 110 retailers, has since become pretty dilapidated.
Yeah, less than 20 now. I can't remember the exact number, 14, 16, something like that. Retailers currently.
And probably like continuing to go down, the longer this goes. But there's been hope, right? Because it's been purchased, there's been partners, there's been developments. And so they now announced the investment group redeveloping the outlet mall in their plans and financial package application submitted to the city of Osage Beach. That was submitted on January 28th. It included a $650 million TIF. Lots of confusion here online, man. People were talking, man, Johnny Morris needs the money. What's going on? The property may be blighted. And I thought you guys did a really great job. And so when you see like Bass Pro Shops, Outlet Mall, it's a sensitive subject for people. Everybody has an interest there. But you guys did a great feature, and it kind of broke down background, what they're going to be building, what exactly they're asking for in their TIF, in their package they presented to the city, and then what that process and approval process looks like. So I'll ask kind of what's the quick background on this overall project?
Okay, so you gave a lot of good background right there. Outlet Mall's been struggling. Chris Foster, local development family, long-time roots at the lake, has partnered with, this is kind of his second attempt. Previously, he partnered with an out-of-area, I think Kansas City area developer, tried to work with the city on a redevelopment plan. That kind of fell flat. Negotiations with the city kind of fell out. So nothing happened for a while. Then Foster partnered with a different group, and they bought the outlet mall. I think that was late 24, I think, is when they announced they had bought the outlet mall. Okay, so then they owned it, for better or for worse, right? And so then this past year, like over 2025, they would kind of hint at a few things, but no details. Then it's sort of the latter half of 2025, Bass Pro came out and was like, we're coming to the outlet mall. And Chris Foster basically was like, yeah, they're our anchor store. And I mean, you don't even really have to say that, right? Like, of course, Bass Pro would be the anchor store. So huge Bass Pro. I'm not sure if square footage is lined out yet, but like way bigger than the Branson one, maybe similar size to like the St. Charles Bass Pro, something like that, if you've ever been to that one.
Okay.
So pretty good size. I mean, it's not gonna be the Springfield size one because that's like the,
that's the anchor store, right?
That's the Bass Pro. So, but it will be a nice sized Bass Pro at the very back of the mall, so to be visible from Highway 54 is the idea. So that got announced. Huge deal. Now, Bass Pro and Johnny Morris are not the developers. They're just Bass Pro. And so the way it works is a developer lines up all these retailers to come into a place. They get letters of intent from them and all this stuff, right? So they have that from Bass Pro. I believe they have it from some others or at least are working on it with others, but they haven't released any yet. So the only name we know is Bass Pro. But we didn't know any project details, or we didn't know numbers or what. I mean, we knew they were gonna ask for some like public incentives and stuff, but we didn't really know what they were gonna ask for. So that just came out at the end of January because they finally submitted their incentive request. It's the TIF plan, they call it, to the city, TIF, tax increment financing, right? So they submitted that to the city, and that, in it, they have to lay out a lot more details about what their plan is, how much they expect the project to cost, project timeline, and then all the incentives that they would like to get from city, actually, and state on partly funding the project. And that is where all the confusion happens, you know, because they actually clarified quite a bit, but then there's a lot that people still are kind of like, wait, what does this mean, right? One of the questions is, does Johnny Morris actually need the money? No, that's not how it works. It's not Johnny Morris doing the development.
He's Bass Pro Shops, and he says, hey, you guys build this and get this up. Yeah. We're gonna come in and we're gonna be one of the properties here.
Exactly.
As part of this development, but it's not his overall development. So real quick, like, what are they gonna be building? They lay any more details as far as like what was gonna be within this overall project?
They didn't really give a lot like on the what we're gonna build, honestly. They laid out like retail. I think they hinted at some entertainment components, definitely some lodging components. I think we can definitely rule out that there's gonna be any like apartment style stuff. I don't think they're planning on any residential type stuff there. I think it's a little bit more destinational and retail focused. They're gonna demolish some parts of the outlet mall, and they're gonna leave other parts of it. I think Chris maybe has told me which parts, but I can't remember. Anyways, you could probably look at it and figure it out just by looking at some of them.
Some of it's gonna stay, some of it,
and some of it's gonna go.
Tear down. But
obviously, lots of infrastructure work to be done in terms of, you know, parking lot, all the landscaping, all that kind of stuff. But $650 million investment. We'll run through really quickly what they're asking for, and I'll be really concise. I actually did a breakdown of this on my podcast, like a long one, so if anybody is really that interested in the minutia, and on our article at Lake Expo. So
imagine a lot of people probably are.
Yeah, honestly. And for those who are, you know, I think that it's good to sort of dig in. It's definitely not good to express an opinion and have no idea what you're talking about, right? So, no one ever does that though.
Right. I was just
$650 million project, done by 2031 is what they would hope. And they're asking for $149 million in what you would broadly call incentives, public incentives. That would be about 23% of the project. Okay, I'm gonna run down those super fast. The first one is the TIF, tax increment financing. That means sales tax and property tax. The increase in those things that result from the development happening would go towards paying off certain aspects of the development instead of going straight into the county or the city or whatever budget.
So all of it, or a percentage?
The increase.
Of it? Okay.
I don't actually know offhand whether they're asking for 100% of the increase or a partial percent of the increase. That's a good thing. I need to go back and check.
But so as the project happens, they're saying, hey, as that is increased and there's more coming in, we get at least part of that to help pay back some of these things.
Right, part or all. And again, I need to go back and look at what percentage they're asking for. But yeah, imagine they're paying 50 grand a year on property tax. There's a made up number. And once it's done being developed, imagine they had to pay 500 grand a year on property tax. Well, they would say, okay, we take that 450 and apply that towards paying off some of the development costs. Ditto with sales tax.
Right,
good example. That's that. The state super TIF, they call it. Same thing, but just with the state sales tax, not the city. So same request. Hotel room sales tax is something I mentioned. That's not a new thing. That's just, again, the sales tax request, but as it applies to hotel rooms, because they have to itemize that. It's a weird thing. 2 other districts, actually 3 then districts they would want to form, and those are the final 3 incentives. These would all be special districts they would form around the project boundary in which they could levy a very specific tax within that district to help pay off development, you know, like the development costs. So a community improvement district, a transportation development district, which the TDD was like, we see that at Pruitt's Point.
Sure.
The community improvement district, we see at Eagles Landing, right? These have been done here before. And then a special entertainment district allowed by Missouri law. And we don't have a lot of specs on what that would be, but that's what they're asking for. So a lot of those, actually, those 3 be new taxes within that district. So you don't shop there, it doesn't affect you at all. Right?
So essentially when they say that this TIF, this project is $650 million, people get confused and they think like, hey, the city or the county is giving them $650 million to do this project down there, and that's not essentially the case.
No, yeah, I mean, yeah, if people are thinking, oh my gosh, now Osage Beach they're asking for $149 million in incentives. Osage Beach has to write a $149 million check out of their already stretched budget. They don't have a $149 million budget, by the way. That's not the ask, right? It's a, hey, can we take additional tax revenues that come off of this development, and instead, again, of those initially going to the city or state or whatever, can those be used to pay off development costs? That's over a period of time. At the time that ends,
sunshine eventually go out.
Yeah, right. Those sunset, and then they go. Then those would go to the city.
Is there a tipping point, like for some of these areas where you get so many of these, where there's a period of time where the city's not really seeing the amount of taxes or revenue, or the tax collecting entities are going to go into a shortfall because their services are up, but there's so many breaks and there's so many cuts and there's so many abatements for some of these developments that, I mean, is that a possibility?
I think that's like probably one of the more important things that the TIF Commission has to ask and the board has to ask is like, okay, what is this increase on, like in terms of the burden on our city services, and does not getting that increased sales tax, property tax, et cetera, like hinder us from actually providing those, if this is a 20 plus year TIF kind of arc, and when does that start sunsetting? And so that's some of the things I think they have to ask is, are we going to be able to keep up with city services and roads and police and on utilities and stuff, and considering how much this is going to grow the demand on those? I think that's an important question, and I think a city could overstretch itself on that. I don't know that this will. That's up for them. So April 1st is the TIF Commission public hearing. Folks should definitely plan on going to that. And I think you will get some clarity. You'll have a chance to, I think they have a public hearing. You can go and say what you think about it. It could be a very long meeting.
Sure. Those normally are.
Those normally are. And then the TIF Commission decides what they think, makes a recommendation to the City Board of Aldermen. The City Board of Aldermen either says, yeah, we're going to take your recommendation, or thanks for the recommendation, we're going to go the other direction. So
or
that's
may
their
even
prerogative.
Take their recommendation and change it a little bit or add to it before they go back to the developer.
Right, they could suggest changes to the TIF plan. So big thing. I mean, this would be the biggest single spend on a development ever at the lake. The Oasis at Lakeport is $500 million.
Keeps
this
going
is
up.
$650.
Started $350, then $450, now $500. I wonder by the time this comes to fruition what the ballpark will be.
I know.
I mean,
you think it'll probably go up a little bit.
It does, especially with the inflation we're seeing right now. So $650 million overall project, and you said the timeline right now they're laying out in these early phases is 2031.
That's what they'd like to see. Again, we've seen those change before. I know they would probably love to stick to that. So.
Sure. Yep. All right. So, hey, we'll continue to follow this. Actually, Nathan's going to be with us next week. I don't know if we'll have any updates by then, but I know that meeting on April 1st will be very interesting. All right. So, hey, recently the Missouri House passed a bill that protected small businesses from their websites being attacked or being under threat from lawsuits. And so it was actually Jeff Vernetti. I'm just curious. This is a huge win, I feel like, for small businesses. I want you to walk us through a couple of individuals. Sandy Waggett, who's here locally, was super involved. Lake Expo has been involved in this fight for a while and really got it blown up and on people's radar. And then, of course, State Rep Jeff Vernetti. So kind of walk us through this.
So Americans with Disabilities Act, right? That's the federal government law that requires all kinds of accommodations, everything from ramps to all that kind of stuff. Well, lawsuit trolls basically have discovered that can be successfully in a lawsuit applied to your business's website. So if a blind person can't read your website, you heard me right, can't have it read to them or something, right? Then they could, in theory, sue you for violating the Americans with Disabilities Act because your website is a kind of public accommodation or something, right?
And you didn't meet their needs and make it possible for them
I think this is crazy. This ADA should not be applied to websites. Hot take.
So did this happen? Did local people get...
Literally, there are law firms that got a blind guy to be the plaintiff and said he accessed your website, such and such business, and you could be sued and have to pay this amount as a fine, but we'll take this lower amount as a settlement if you want to just take care of this right now. That was literally happening. It happened around the lake. Two businesses who didn't mind their names being shared. And Hemp Hemp Hooray. We did a story on Hemp Hemp Hooray and the fact that they got threatened with a lawsuit because, again, I think in this case it was the same kind of blind guy out of, I think, Florida or something, couldn't access their website appropriately, and they got one of these threatening letters. I don't remember how they navigated that, but yes, it was happening to businesses throughout the state. We covered this. Sandy Waggett helped us cover this because she was seeing her clients at MSW Interactive, they do web design. Her clients were starting to see some of this, and she was like, guys, we got to get this sorted out. So there's like an ADA plugin you can put on your website, costs money, that gets you in compliance. Yeah. So she was trying to help businesses with this. But what she worked with Jeff Vernetti on is getting a law passed that goes, no. Listen, if somebody wants to make a complaint about this, the business gets a grace period of like 60 days or 90 days or so, I forget the details on it, to come into compliance, and they can't be like, there's no fault there. And in fact, the Attorney General, if they find that a law firm is in a predatory way going after businesses under this, the Attorney General could, on behalf of those small businesses, go after the law firm.
Yeah.
So it kind of gives teeth the other direction, which I love, because man, predatory lawsuits are one of the worst things.
And greatly discourages those lawyers and law firms from going after these frivolous, crazy things.
So that made its way through the House this past week. It was like the second bill to clear the House, and it's headed to the Senate. So Vernetti was talking to me, and he was like, man, actually texted both of us, didn't he? He was like, this is very promising that it made it through that quickly. Unanimous vote with like 2 voting present. So like bipartisan, this is a really good thing.
Yeah, it says the legislation creates the Act Against Abusive Website Access litigation, allowing the Attorney General's office or affected Missourians to seek a court determination when 88 website claims are abusive. The Attorney General may also intervene and issue guidance to clarify when litigation practices cross the line. The bill passed with incredibly strong bipartisan support. The final vote was 149 yes, 0 no's, and 2 present. And as you said, it now heads the Missouri Senate for further consideration. But that's a big deal, because you wouldn't know that was an issue if it wasn't called out or put in front of you until you get one of those scary letters from a lawyer.
Right. And then you're like, oh my gosh, I could either pay this massive fine and have to deal with all these court fees and lawyer fees, or fine, I'll just write these guys a $10,000 check and make it
settle
go away.
And make it,
But 10 grand is a lot of money for a small business especially, so it's terrible. Yeah, I'm glad they're doing this. Good on Vernetti and the other reps that are working on this.
Yeah, and good for Sandy Waggett and you guys, staying persistent on that. So, hey, real quick, I don't know if you heard, but PlayCraft Boats, iconic name down here at Lake of the Ozarks, has sold. We want to congratulate our good friend Carolyn Dorris. Jim started building Monarch boats in Arkansas back in 1968.
Legend.
Before relocating to Missouri to work for Appleby Aluminum Boats. They were the largest aluminum boat builder in America. Sharpened his skills there for a few years before starting Charger Boats in 1974. Did that for 20 years before he got a little bored and wanted to kind of mix the comfort of a pontoon along with performance. And in 1994, started messing with a power tune line of PlayCraft boats, and it debuted in 1995 in Lake of the Ozarks Shootout. Was the first pontoon or tri-tune to ever run in Lake of the Ozarks
That's
Shootout.
Always been their niche with PlayCraft, was like the performance pontoon.
Oh, and still to this day. That year, 46.8 mile per hour. In 2001 on Lake X in Florida, he set a record at 81 miles per hour. And in 2010, the Shootout saw the first pontoon or tri-tune go over 100 miles an hour, and of course that was a PlayCraft boat.
Crazy.
Carolyn Dorris has run in the Shootout for the last 30 plus years and has top speeds of 78 miles per hour. She's a Hall of Famer. We want to congratulate Carolyn Dorris. And Charger and PlayCraft Boats now goes to Evolution Marine Group with Chris and Leslie Nelson. They're going to have to carry on that legacy of Jim Dorris.
Yeah, that's a cool legacy to pick up on.
And a lot of people like down here know PlayCraft Boats, but they don't even know about Charger Boats, which is massive, and probably going to start seeing a lot more of that. So really cool for the Dorris family. Carolyn and Jim Dorris, of course, what an icon he was, and still, is considered to be in Shootout and the marine industry. All right, so our next local headline is not so local. We're going to talk frozen iguanas in Florida. Did you see this?
I heard you talk about it, and then I'm like, I think I did see this scrolling somewhere in passing. Yes, they're iguana ice cubes, basically.
Right. So like there was pictures and videos a lot of places, and it looked to be like frozen iguanas. Well, that's essentially what it is. Green iguanas are highly invasive species in Florida, particularly the south part. They cause significant damage to infrastructure, seawalls, and landscape vegetation, and they're not protected except by anti-cruelty laws, and the public is actually encouraged to dispose of them. And so during cold weather,
dispose of them, like
yes,
okay,
any humane way. Don't torture them. You can't boil them. Although I did see a video of someone making stew with them.
Well,
after you humanely dispose
hunt
of
them, and then
right. Okay. So here's what's crazy. During cold weather, they become cold stunned and fall from the trees. That's why everybody was seeing this. There was over 5,000 turned in 2 days in Florida, but they're cold-blooded and they can't regulate their own body temp. So when temps drop below 50, their system slows down. Now, especially in the 30s, which we're seeing crazy lows in Florida right now, their metabolism slows drastically, causing paralysis, loss of grip, and that's why you'll see them fall from trees and in a temporary coma-like state they call torpor, which is wild.
Yeah.
So most do survive, but this cold can be fatal if it lasts too long for the iguanas, and it's just wild. 5,000 removed in 2 days. Another issue they cause is they're a bite. They like to bite, and they carry salmonella. So that's a huge concern, and that's what they're saying. Hey, if you're handling these frozen little monsters,
gloves.
like as they warm up, like be careful. They can still bite you, and they could cause an infection. So that was wild. Hopefully Uncle Chris doesn't go down there and hunt any of those iguanas.
I don't know. I want a picture if he does. Just like
if you're watching Uncle Chris,
right now,
you and
please.
Mrs. Uncle C, go get us a selfie with an iguana down there. All right, so Super Bowl in the books. Did you watch?
I did not watch.
Yeah, I don't blame you. It was a blowout. We do want to congratulate our Super Bowl winner, Ronnie Stoller. He won $350 cash and prizes. You can pick that up right here at Slumberland at the Lake. The contest was who wins the toss? Patriots. Seahawks won the game, 29-13. Seahawks scored first, and Kenneth Walker won the MVP, and Ronnie actually got that. He got the MVP right, so good for him. And as far as viewership, numbers aren't officially in, but last year a record was set. 127 million people watched the Super Bowl last year. And while those numbers are still being totaled for this year's big game, over 135 million people watched Bad Bunny in the halftime show, if that's any indication of how many people watched the game. Because I'm not so sure that everybody watching the game continued to watch the halftime show.
Yeah, fake news. I don't even believe that number. I think I'd move the decimal point over.
Probably.
Yeah. I know a lot of people that turned it off.
Well, we watched Turning Point. That was pretty cool. Nearly $2 billion in total was wagered on the Super Bowl. Wow.
Great.
$2 billion. All right, so we were going to let you tell a little bit more about yourself, but since we're running short on time, you can tune in next week for a cup of coffee.
There you go.
We'll do that a little bit. I just want to tell you guys, get ready for the 12th annual Bridge and Dam Half Marathon, 5 and 10Ks on April 11th. That's a Saturday, so you get ready. Racers start on the Bagnell Dam Scenic Overlook. They'll travel across the dam and up the historic strip, and those longer runs even cross the community bridge and back. All runners finish downhill at Neon Taco for the epic post-race party, and all proceeds benefit Wonderland Camp, Lake of the Ozarks Big Brothers Big Sisters, and Lotto Shriners Club. Lake TV is proud to present the 12th annual Bridge and Dam Half Marathon. It's also hosted by Fun Runs and Lake of the Ozarks Runners, and I'm telling you, you want to register now at bridgeanddam.com. And the reason you need to register early is there are actually limited spots available for the run, the 5K, and the 10K.
I've heard that this thing
sells out.
Yeah, sells out.
The 5K last year sold out early. Yep. They're already getting close on the 5K. Surprisingly, a ton of entries. There's been 4,000 runners completed at least one wing of this epic annual event, and they've raised $200,000 for local nonprofits and charities. Cool. Again, sign up now at bridgeanddamhalfmarathon.com. It is on Saturday, April 11th, and I'm sure we're going to see you out there running.
You could use AI to get me into some kind of video running, I'm sure.
All right.
It's the only way that's happening.
I love it. All right, so before we go, this week's weekly scripture and reflection, right from Proverbs 15, verses 1 and 2. I always need this reminder. So, a gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger. The tongue of the wise adorns knowledge, but the mouth of the fool gushes folly. Again, Proverbs 15, verses 1 and 2, keeping the main thing. And Nathan, as we wrap up, I'm so glad you joined us. You're going to be back next week, right?
I'm coming.
And we're going to tell you more about Nathan Bechtold plus the Pregnancy Help Center's annual chili cook-off on March 5th. We're going to tell you how you can either sign up, it's not too late, and make sure if you're not going to sign up, attend that event. We'll tell you all about that next week. And again, Uncle Chris out there on vacation, so a shout out to Nathan Bechtold and his entire crew at Lake Expo. Make sure you check out the Lake Expo app. Not only see all the crazy great stuff they do, but you can watch Lake TV. Until next week from Slumberland at the Lake, thanks for watching.